Imperial ambitions. The French invasion of Mexico. One of the remarkable and intriguing conflicts during this period was the unexpected and dramatic invasion of Mexico by the French. Before delving into this unique historical timeline, it's essential to examine the events that led up to it. In the late 1850s, Mexico found itself embroiled in a civil war. Benito Juárez, a liberal reformist, and his supporters were in opposition to the conservatives led by Félix Zúñiga, with neighboring United States supporting the liberals. At this juncture, Mexico was burdened with significant foreign debts. When Juárez assumed power, he decided to suspend debt payments for 2 years due to a lack of alternative options for Mexico. However, this move deeply dissatisfied the European nations, who were creditors to Mexico. On October 31, 1861, the governments of Great Britain, France, and Spain convened in London to discuss how to respond to Mexico's decision. The consensus was that a tripartite agreement and joint intervention in Mexico were necessary to recover the owed funds. All three nations eagerly endorsed this agreement, unaware of France's hidden agenda. France, under the leadership of Napoleon III, had ambitions beyond financial interests. Napoleon aimed to expand his empire's influence, and the Mexican situation provided a perfect pretext for achieving this goal, although Spain and Britain were initially unaware of his intentions. In December 1861, European forces landed at the port of Veracruz, but chaos ensued shortly afterward. Initially, their intention was to work together to capture Veracruz and compel the Mexican government into negotiations to resolve the debt crisis. They insisted that they had no intention of conquering Mexico. However, Juárez resisted their presence, while his conservative opponents saw the Europeans as potential allies in their struggle against the reformists. By January 1862, it became apparent that France had ulterior motives. France floated the idea of establishing a monarchy in Mexico, but Britain and Spain rejected it. In February, the European nations reiterated their recognition of the current Mexican government and their intent to address the debt issue. The Convention of La Soledad was signed and later ratified by the Mexican government, but negotiations collapsed in the spring when France's true intentions became clear. Britain and Spain, realizing they had been deceived, made their own agreements with Mexico and withdrew their troops. In contrast, France escalated its efforts, capturing several cities. One significant Mexican victory on May 5, 1862, celebrated as Cinco de Mayo, marked a turning point, but promised French reinforcements arrived later, allowing France to regain momentum. Ultimately, France captured Puebla and Mexico City, and on July 10, 1863, a proclamation of empire established a Mexican monarchy. Maximilian, pressured by France, reluctantly accepted the role of emperor, despite being less conservative than expected. Across the border, the United States was concerned about a European puppet state next door but took no immediate action due to the ongoing civil war. However, as the Civil War concluded, the U.S. became bolder. With liberal forces gaining support from the U.S., Juárez led his men against the French and their local allies. Napoleon realized his goals were short-lived, and on January 31, 1866, he ordered all French troops to withdraw from Mexico. Maximilian's fate was sealed when he refused to leave Mexico and was captured. After a symbolic trial, he was sentenced to death. On June 19, 1867, he faced a firing squad. His final words expressed help for Mexico's future and the sacrifice he made. Maximilian was laid to rest in Austria, marking the end of the French invasion of Mexico. Despite its unusual and contentious nature, this brief period of Mexican empire under French influence remains a captivating and significant chapter in history, among the many battles and wars throughout time.